Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I want to start this week off with a quote from the drummer of the band we're going to be talking about this week. His name is Magnus Ostrom. And his quote, "We couldn't sound the way we do if we had only listened to jazz." And I think there's a lot to be said about branching out and listening to other music. And each week, when Matt and I turn the page of our JazzWise Top 100 albums that shook the world, yes, we're still in the jazz realm, but it's opened our mind and our ears to a lot of different styles of jazz music. Last week, Lenny Tristano. The week before that, Maria Schneider. This week, we get to listen to an album and discuss it. The album from Gagarin's point of view, and the band Esbjörn Svensson Trio. They later renamed themselves E.S.T. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Let's get into the show.
Well, let's roll 2 minutes. And how was your week in music, Drew?
My week, I'm still recovering from that cold and the crap in my lungs, so I haven't been able to play much horn, or I haven't been able to ride much. This week, it's kind of been a pretty chill week from that standpoint. Work, repeat. Lily's getting ready to pack up for her high school camping trip. They leave tomorrow morning and will return Thursday afternoon. As today is Indigenous Peoples Day, she had today off, and because the camping trip comes back Thursday afternoon, they're giving them Friday off. So not only was last week a drag through the sickness and recovery, it's now this week is going to be a little quieter without Lily around for a few days. So what about you guys?
So, so this week, we actually got a wild hair, and Kendra texted me Friday morning and said, "Hey, Pink's playing in Indy tomorrow night." She said tickets are as low as $15 a piece. Well, $15 tickets don't work for us, because those, and it was at Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, the place is humongous in the first place, and the $15 seats were all the way up on the ceiling. So I got onto StubHub and got $88 floor tickets. We sat right on the field.
Wow.
Now we were 90 yards away, so she didn't look very big, but the jumbotrons and everything else were going. I'm telling you what, her voice is amazing. Her acrobatics that she does during her show are second to none. I mean, Vegas style acrobatics and stuff that she does. I'll just tell you real quick, I got 1 minute left, but near the end of the show, she put on a harness, and they picked her up from the 10-yard line, and they brought her all the way up to the 400 section of the other side of the field, the other side of the stadium. They had these wires that were attached to the ceiling, and they could control her. There was two platforms in the audiences that were about, well, they were probably 10, 20 feet high, but they were only a foot square. And they would fly her around the stadium, and then they would land her right on one of those podiums. And she did a few acrobats while she was there, but then they lifted her up again and they flew her around the stadium again. And she's up, I mean, 150, 200 feet in the air, easy, and just flying around. And then they landed her on the other platform. It was simply amazing. It was a great show. Loved every minute of it. It was well worth the money that we paid in parking and driving and everything else. So plus this week with E.S.T, amazing music in my ear. That's my 2 minutes. Dad, how was your week in music?
Friday night, we went to the club room, Mom and I, and we listened to Sunglasses at Night, and their music just was really, really super good. But I have a test for you guys, okay? I want you to finish this song title. I think we're
Alone now.
Alone now. Doesn't seem
too much time
Anybody?
on my hands.
Hit me with
Your best shot.
Manic.
Monday.
Manic
Okay.
Monday. Just another
I hate
Manic
myself.
Monday.
I hate myself for
Loving you.
Loving you.
It's the power. It's a wonderful
life.
It's a wonderful love.
It's a wonderful love.
Yeah, I want to.
Dance with somebody.
Yes. And then they played, which was not a big deal for me, but Billie Jean by
Oh,
who?
It's not
oh,
my girl.
by Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
So,
So besides,
Sunglasses at Night. You happen to know somebody in that band, right?
yes, Brad, the drummer,
Yeah.
who goes to church with us, he is a super drummer, and you just love to listen to him. Amy was with us, and
Good.
she hung out there. And the club room is a really good venue. Thing was, they were not scheduled to be there, but the group that was scheduled to be there had to cancel. So Sunglasses filled in for them, and they're back there in 2 weeks again.
Oh,
So
are they really? Oh, that's
yeah,
great. So that was your 2 minutes. That was your 2 minutes. It sounds like it was a great week in music.
yes.
Yeah, and you had EST in your ears.
Oh, yeah, yes. All week,
Yes.
all
Okay,
week.
so for the audience, the name of the band is Esbjörn Svensson Trio, and from now on, we're just going to say EST because Esbjörn Svensson Trio is just too much to say, and they actually do go by EST. So we're just going to call them EST. That's who we're talking about. I'm like Steve Harvey on Family Feud. I'm just going to say this one time. We asked 100 married women. We're gonna say EST. All right. So, all right,
So,
let's get the slideshow rolling so we can get into discussion about EST.
Let's do this.
All right, whatever you do, do it to jazz. We still have been unpacking and unboxing and moving, and I got to tell you, all week long, even Kendra reminds me, whatever we're doing, hey, it's time for some jazz. Turn on some jazz. Except for the concert we went to. Next slide. Absolutely love the artwork of the album. From Gagarin's point of view is the name of the album. We probably should have mentioned that. and I like the artwork. It's very plain but very noticeable, very recognizable. What do you think? You like it?
so answer me a question. The light that's above the T, what's that all about? Street lamp? Miner's lamp? Um, what? I don't understand.
I wasn't
I'm-
And
sure
I
if it
had,
was part of the record label or if it was the design. In every image of the design I found, that is in there.
are
Wow.
we on
Yeah.
hold?
You know what? I actually probably paid attention to it, but now that you brought it to light, that's all I can concentrate on.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
don't know. That's
I didn't think there'd be a way to Google it um, and really find a definitive answer. So I didn't do that. I thought you guys would know that answer because
No.
you're
we're
so super.
We're the
we're unconnoisseurs.
Yeah, that's
We don't have all the answers.
Hey, to answer that question, best part about recording and then editing later, Super Studio Gul, Gul, is what that dot is for. They established themselves in Scandinavia in 1989, and in 2007, they became a division of Playground Music Scandinavia. Their parent company is Diesel Music AB. So that dot on that album, on a CD in the back of an album cover that was released overseas, is all just the insignia of Super Studio Gul. And I'm sure somebody's got more information on that, so drop it in the comments below. But let's keep this rolling.
All right, let's move on. So the two pictures that I chose this week, both black and white. The top left picture, that is the trio. And Drew, why don't you drop the names up over this slide real quick? And Esbjorn, and you got Magnus Ostrom, and then you've got
Dan Berglund.
Berglund. Yes, thank you, Berglund. And Magnus is on the right side of the picture, and Dan is on the left side of the picture. The other picture, the lower right picture, is another picture of EST in the lower left hand corner, but the Russian astronaut Yuri Gagarin was the Russian astronaut who was the first man in space. So, from Gagarin's point of view, was written with him in mind. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick. Moving on for the jazz lingo of the day, the word I picked, and I'm trying a new website out for the jazz lingo, but this one is the best. It's beast. The jazz lingo for the day is beast, and it's a term to describe an extremely talented musician or performer. And I can tell you, Esbjörn is a beast. He is just the trio is simply amazing. Moving on, where you can get it. This week's album can be found on Google Music, iTunes, YouTube, LP, and CD. And it was on the Act label, and it was released. It was recorded in November of 1998. So, big CD time, 1998 to the late 2010, 2013. But the quote I put on the slide, I found this online last night. This is just from a fellow fan of Esbjörn Svensson, and he said they made a huge impact on a small but vibrant Scandinavian jazz scene. You know, the jazz scene in Scandinavia probably wasn't big. Dad and I were talking right before you hit record about, jazz started in the United States, made its way to Europe, with some of the musicians that we have talked about before. But then how did it make its way to Scandinavia? And for Esbjörn to start his group, and start jazz there. So they made an impact. They made a huge impact. And it's not just in Scandinavia. I think they made an impact in the whole world.
Yeah, when this album came out, being their first and really to go international, it shook everybody everywhere. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yep.
But to touch on that, I'm going to say that people like Duke Ellington, Lionel Hampton, and several others of the big bands that actually made their tours in Europe in the 30s and 40s. And I'm just reading something about that recently. So it seems like, yeah, how do you all of a sudden get that Scandinavian impact from that?
Yeah.
But
right.
We'll get to some of the other names in a moment.
Yeah, cool. Let's move on to the next slide. And this is the information slide. What I did for this slide is I just did the trio. I didn't do any personal information, but E.S.T started in 1993, and of course they finished in 2008. Some of the influences that I found: Bela Bartok, who was a composer, I think he was a Russian composer, if I'm not mistaken. Bela and Radiohead was Esbjörn's some of his influences. Now, I remember taking piano lessons. Miss Gershmel used to make me practice Bela Bartok, so I can still remember some of the melodies that I had to practice. The discography, there was 11 studio CDs released, and there was at least 6 live CDs that I failed to add to the slide. I was exhausted Sunday night when I was making the slideshow, so I apologize for that. But there are 6 live CDs as well. The genre that I found was jazz, instrumental music, new jazz, which is NU, not NEW, new jazz, and post bop. So I tend to agree with all of those in the genre list.
Very much.
Yep. What do you think? Okay. Known for. So on the wiki page, it clearly states that the E.S.T was blurring lines between genres. So it's hard for me to kind of classify this as straight jazz. I mean, it's jazz, but it's not the kind of jazz that you would think of. What's the group that you like?
The Rippingtons.
The Rippingtons, yeah. You like the Rippingtons, and they're jazz. But would you classify them as jazz? Would you say, hey, if you like jazz, go listen to the Rippingtons? Would you do that?
Not necessarily, no.
No,
but I do like their style and their music.
Yeah, right. So E.S.T known for blurring the lines between genres.
Well, and I might go back to what we just recorded a few weeks ago. Third Stream.
Yeah.
Maria Schneider.
Maria Schneider,
back to blending the lines between classical and jazz, and in one of their albums, the folk music of Scandinavia. blending some of those concepts together. But I think back to Blurring the Lines, Esbjörn Svensson was actually trained by and was encouraged by his mother to practice both the classical and the jazz. So for
But
him, he came up playing both.
but his father was the jazz influence. So, he was a jazz enthusiast in the first place. And so to kind
Yes.
of push that off onto his son, say, hey, check this music out. But he actually did want to pursue classical, didn't he? He kind of wanted to pursue that,
Yeah.
and then he switched.
Can I add a little? Can I add a tidbit to that?
Sure.
What I read was that because his mother was a more of a classical pianist, she taught him the chords to Long Tall Sally and Blue Suede Shoes.
Okay.
I find that very fascinating.
Yeah.
That's how he got his start, really, and piano, I guess.
Yeah. No, because he is blurring the lines. It would be hard for it not to say that he's not a rock musician, because some of the stuff has got some real rock influence, and so Blue Suede Shoes. Yeah, Radiohead. Blue Suede Shoes makes sense.
He liked Deep Purple. He listened and liked Jimi Hendrix and Frank Zappa. And then he finally apparently discovered Monk and Victoria and Jarrett.
Keith Jarrett,
yeah.
I should have I should have let you add those to the influences list.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on with the known for. One of the other things that I was reading about was his vibrant live performances, including huge rock venues. Now, I was just at a huge rock venue. I was at a concert. I mean, it's humongous. Lucas Oil Stadium is humongous. I can't imagine 50,000 kids going to see E.S.T, but it happened. I mean, they talk about the live performance being in a rock stage and it being packed, being sold out, and everyone's going to jam out to E.S.T. Man, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Well, there's probably not much to do around town. but 50,000 means they're coming from everywhere.
Well, yeah.
War Memorial getting packed out in Fort Wayne because it was closer than going to Indy, Columbus, Detroit, for some of the other bigger venues. Fort Wayne was it. So I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have gone.
Yeah, I would have too, for sure. Last thing on Known For was Gagarin's point of view was E.S.T's first album release outside of Scandinavia. I think we touched on that just a little bit ago. The 6 degrees that I found, and again, I was Sunday night, I was exhausted and I was just thinking in my head, so I didn't look anything up. But Esbjörn played with Magnus Ostrom, which is his drummer, and then Magnus and Metheny played together on a song, Ballad for E, on Magnus's solo work. Metheny, of course, played with Herbie Hancock, and then Hancock played with Miles. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees of separation. Did you find a different one?
Why, yes, I did.
Why does that not surprise me?
It's weird because over the last couple of weeks, Matt, you and I have talked about why we don't hear about more trombonists. And then, of course, Bob Brookmeyer comes into our purview the other day when we were talking about Maria Schneider. And so I started looking into trombone players, and it just happens that you read a name, and that name mentions something, and next thing you know, you're looking at Swedish rock stars. Esbjörn played with a gentleman who plays a trombone, Niles Landgren. And Niles Landgren played, actually those two recorded 2 albums together, duet, trombone and keys, beautiful albums. One of them was Swedish folk modern, but Niles Landgren directly played with Herbie Hancock, and Herbie, of course, Miles.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
4. Cool.
And I did listen to Layers of Light from 2001, where Niles and Esbjörn, oh man,
Put those up on the screen,
Yeah,
will
I
you? Those album covers, so that when I watch this episode back and like it, I can pull those up, because I will forget between now and then, because I somehow missed that. Well, I didn't miss it, but I listened to every E.S.T album there was this week. So,
and I turned on Home S this morning, his Esbjörn Svensson's actual solo album. Oh my
yeah,
goodness. Oh my
good stuff.
goodness.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Had you listened to that one? I listened to every other the trio albums, but
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
All
Oh my
right.
goodness.
Let me say this. I was listening to this album on Spotify, which is okay, but it took me from this album to probably 3 or 4 other albums of similar sounds or similar pieces, and equally I was impressed. But I would rather listen to the album entirely, so I started listening to it on YouTube, and but other artists play very similar music, and they're equally impressive.
So did you write some of those down? Would you mind
I
sharing
did.
some of those? Share
I
some of
did.
those with us right now, because if I like EST and they're playing some similar, man, I might check those out too.
There was an artist called the Oscar Peterson Trio, and you got that. One of the songs was "I Got It Bad," and that ain't good. I thought that's pretty funny.
Okay, yeah.
This guy Tord Gustafsson. Trio.
Tord. Yes.
Tord.
Yes.
Deep as Love. The album is Changing Places, and I think you really will like that.
Yeah.
And then there's a piece by Bobby Timmons, and that piece is called Dat, D-A-T, Dairy, D-E-R-E.
Okay.
And if I may, one more is Tingval, the Tingval Trio. And I think you'll really like this piece called Tokyo Dance.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just some of it.
I will say that I have listened to Tord Gustafsson too.
Yeah.
And it's right up EST's alley. So
question, did EST, was there one of their albums, The 7 Days of Falling?
Oh. Yes.
Come on.
That piece in my garage blew me away.
Oh, the whole album blows me away.
Yeah.
I was looking this morning for the best albums, bestalbumsever.com ranked their EST's 15 albums. And with a score of 162, I think, out of 400, 7 Days of Falling is their number one album.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hit box chart after box chart. 7 Days of Falling is just a killer album. And it's actually got a higher rating than Gagarin's Point of View. So.
Oh man. Yeah, it hits hard. It really does. I mean, again, if you're going to listen to EST, there's no bad album to pick, but go straight for the best 7 Days of Falling. Let me finish the slideshow real quick.
Yeah, and Matt, I do have the 99.
Okay, perfect. Today in Jazz History, October the 23rd, the brass ensemble of the Jazz and Classical Music Society records J.J. Johnson's Jazz Suite for brass, featuring trumpeters Miles Davis and Bernie Glow in 1956. One quote by Magnus Ostrom at the bottom of that slide. Remember him as not caring what had defined jazz, only what the music could be. He didn't care about defining jazz, which we do all the time. What is jazz? Is this jazz? What makes jazz? Only what the music could be.
So the idea is listen. Just bottom line, listen to the music, listen to the piece. And
we had a very similar quote last week. Tristano said the same thing. The hippest thing you can do is not play, just listen.
Yep. I was letting that settle in because that's something that I've been digging into this week. Is that where does jazz come from? Where is jazz gone? How many different branches have split off? Went to Marsalis straight jazz. Was the 50s, the end of the 50s, the last of real jazz, and into the 60s, some of it, and then did it branch into fusion? John McLaughlin. Did it branch off? Did it branch off? Did it branch off? And where are we at today with it? And you can get into a rabbit hole trying to put a timeline together. The reality is, who cares?
Yeah.
Does it move you?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of music does, but it doesn't mean it's jazz. But does it move you? Man, so let me jump onto this. In 1999, I just have a few pieces out here. 1999, Bill Clinton was president. The Pulitzer Prize Board bestows a special posthumous honor on Duke Ellington. February 23rd, Eminem releases the Slim Shady LP. 1999, March 24th, The Matrix premieres. May 19th, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is released in cinemas. And for 1999, Billboard's #1 song of the year, Believe by Cher. So that's your glimpse in 1999 history. And I chose 99. That was when the album actually released. It was recorded. This Gagarin's Point of View by E.S.T. was recorded November of 98, and it released in 99. So I chose the 99 as the year of info.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I
interject?
Can I add some stuff about April 16 of 64?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's when he was born. Okay, just months before I graduated from high school. Okay, but the #1 song at that time was "You Can't Buy Me Love," and the Rolling Stones released their debut album. Billboard's #3 song was "Hello Dolly." #4, you can relate to this too, based on your experience last week. Roy Orbison released what song? Your experience last week with Marie Schneider.
Oh, that was
Okay, Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot it was Roy. Van Halen does a cover of it. Yeah. I like Van
When
Halen's
you
cover.
said Roy Orbison, all I thought about was a tattoo on the butt of the coach at Waterboy.
Yeah.
That's all I think about after that movie.
Now we're talking.
Go ahead, Dad.
That's it. That's all I got for you. Except in 1917, that this day of April 16, Lenin was released from exile and went back to Russia.
1917?
1917.
Okay.
He was returned to Lenin returned from Russia from exile.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's important because Yuri is a Russian cosmonaut and he's going into space.
Yeah.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I had to tie that in. Drew, you want to throw in some clips at this time? Let's play some clips. Did you have a clip picked out?
Actually, Matt, I do have one. I think that it'd be best to start with Gagarin's point of view, which is track #5 on the album. Let's just start it at the beginning there and listen to 45 seconds of it or so.
All right, here we go.
My take on my response to that is I could almost taste it. You know,
Yeah.
it just had that smooth, creamy, mellow taste to it. You could feel it, just feel it. Pretty cool.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. When that bass line comes in, boom,
Yeah.
it almost vibrates your whole soul. And being at the concert this Saturday night, I mean, filling up Lucas Oil Stadium with sound, it was incredibly loud, and there was some points in the music where the bass was so heavy that it physically shook you. And that's what I feel like when I hear that portion of that clip.
Well, because of the name of the song, because of the concept of where it's coming from, Gagarin's point of view, I'm thinking about looking through the window, cruising around the Earth from a million miles away. You
Yeah.
feel light, weightless. You're floating on almost nothingness out there. And what's that view looking back on that tiny little planet? And that baseline is like the thrust, the movement, just carrying you in that floating feeling. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to hear that piece of that song, is just to let it go.
Yeah.
That space odyssey kind of thing. Dad or Matt, what you want?
Go ahead, Dad. What clip do you want to hear?
The chapel,
Okay.
like the first 45, 50 seconds of it.
Okay. Here we go. This is the chapel. Okay, that's 55 seconds. I love that sound, the clang that he uses.
Dropping right in on that ride symbol.
Yeah.
Well, and again, you think about the space travel. Not that there's debris out there yet, because there probably wasn't much debris, but something clangs against the side of the rocket. You might hear a clang.
And then you might get a warm sensation in your pants.
That's a great
Oh,
pick.
yeah.
That's a great pick, Dad. Really, that's a great pick.
Well, and it shows off musically beyond the way you feel about it. It shows off musically how all three of them work with something of silence. Nobody needs to play a bunch of notes. They all just want to play the right note at the right time. And I think that's the term that I read. It uses wide intervals. So
Yeah.
these big stretches, the notes aren't packed close together. They're wide apart. And then they use the empty spaces. And that empty space is what I think we've heard it in so many hard bop jazz, bebop jazz. And these guys say, how about one note?
Yeah.
Can you make one note cover for all of it? And if we can, how do we fill in around each other? That's what, to me, makes this trio so great, is the silence.
You know, I was reading a fan page last night. It really ticked me off because some of the conversation was, oh well, Esbjörn, he's a mediocre piano player, and the music is just okay. And it's easy. It's easy music. Like you said earlier, anybody can try and play 180 notes in 4 beats, but it takes a lot more thought and concentration to play one note 4 beats, believe it or not.
You got to be able to play that one note. I think we see that with Miles Davis. I for sure feel that with Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
How do you play the
Yeah.
one right note that covers all of it?
Right.
And you have to understand music at such a level, both in the classical, the jazz, even in rock, to play the one right note.
Yeah, for sure. All right, my turn to pick.
Those fans don't know what they're talking about. Your
That's
pick.
what yeah, that's what I was just, I don't know. If you're going to be on a fan page, I mean, I get that, you may come from a higher level than us on connoisseurs, but for me, the music is amazing. So my pick is song number 2, and it's called Picnic. And I want to start right around, sorry. I want to start right around 15 seconds and just play about 30 or 45 seconds. So this is Picnic. All right. So there's not many bass players that move me like something like that. I don't mind the bass, but it's just not an instrument that stands to the forefront for me, for me. But when you hear a piece of music like that and he's at the forefront laying down that bass solo, I mean, I know it was my pick, but dang, I'm almost in tears again because that's how much it moves me.
Question. Was he using a bow across the strings? There's a song that he uses a bow across the strings, and I didn't write it down which one, but I wondered if that was the one, because he's not just playing with his fingers. It sounds like he's got a bow going across the strings.
In that particular song, he is using the fingers, but I do know that they would have, by far, he would have had, like in from Gagarin's point of view, he would have been pulling a bow. The way they describe that is the footnote. He's dragging this one long note out really long, and the only way to do that would be with a bow.
Yeah.
So I would guess so.
Yeah, man, I agree with you.
Dan Berglund on the bass guitar there.
Yep.
Yeah, that the Picnic was a good choice. I like that piece.
Yeah. It's one that sticks out in my mind. Very recognizable. E.S.T. for me, I know I've listened to it a lot this week and over even the past year since we've been done it on our personal journey, but it's very recognizable. You know who it is when it comes on. You know the tunes. For me, it's just so recognizable that you can't help but know that it's E.S.T. when it comes on. So yeah.
If I may, the one track that to me didn't fit with the other tracks was the Subway. I don't know, it was louder maybe. I don't know how to describe it except it seemed not as mellow. It seemed busy.
This is your way of getting another clip in, isn't it?
I was just waiting for that comment.
Oh, no.
Okay, all right. Hey, I'll tell you what. Let's play 15 seconds. Here we go. That's starting right at the beginning. Yeah, you can totally tell he's using the bow there on the bass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that was song number 9 on the album.
Yep.
Called Subway. Cool.
Subway.
I wanted to make sure I put that in my notes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not that I didn't like the piece, but it just didn't have the same force, or it had more force to it than the mellow, kind of easy flow that the others had.
Cool.
Yeah, but I'm an unconnoisseur. Beyond
hey,
unconnoisseur.
you know what? So are we. I just want to touch real quick before we rate and finish the discussion. Unfortunately, we lost Esbjörn to a scuba diving accident in 2008, and it shook the world pretty hard. And even my man Pat Metheny wrote a piece with Magnus on Magnus's solo album, A Ballad for E. So if you get a chance to listen to Magnus Ostrom, his solo work, song number 6 called A Ballad for E, Esbjörn. Drew, what are your final thoughts on the album?
I got a lot of them. I don't want to rate yet because I'm not done talking about all of it.
Okay.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, my notes from back yesteryears was how much music he had, and how much these guys have been influenced by, and some of the other folks that we've studied: Jan Johansson, ECM, Jan Garbarek. And then you mentioned, Dad, Tord Gustafsson. And I think that those names from that area are a huge part of the music coming out of that area. Magnus Ostrom, Thread of Life. I listened to that album. It shows that I did not listen.
So you heard song number 6, Ballad for E.
Yes.
You heard that. Yeah.
Yes. And then I had something written down with a question mark. I'll get to that in a moment. But 7 Days of Falling, Strange Place for Snow, Retrospective, E.S.T. Live, Plays Monk, 301. These were albums that I listened to that week, and I kept writing the same note. I can't find a bad album. And of course, it's interesting that out of the sound, it's a trio. We've covered on this channel some other trios. We've covered some sounds like this, but nothing that has this movement that is more classical than it is jazz. It'll carry you away. And it's a space odyssey album for sure. But then my last note is, we lost Esbjörn in 2008 to a scuba diving accident, exploring something else. Imagine the music that would have come from an underwater exploration. And so my final notes are, it moves smoothly and slowly. It's not a fast jazz album, but it was just, oh man, I listened to this album and many others for a long, long time to come. Jazz Baltica, Pat Metheny and Esbjörn. That was the question mark that I had. So I didn't find anything about that, Matt. Can you tell me about that? 2003?
Actually, you know what? I didn't partake in that album. I haven't listened to it in a long, long time. So it was kind of beyond my scope.
I'm going to have to go back to that this week.
Yeah. Yes, let's do it.
And I think that's the one fun part about doing the post-production on these things, is that I'll sit down to cut this later and listen to all these albums again. And then I get lost in them. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be working here. 5 hours later, I'm still listening to jazz music, baby. So whatever you do, do it to jazz. What are you guys' final thoughts?
Dad, what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you this. Today, while we were, Mom and I were tearing wallpaper off in our bathroom, I put on this album. And your mom said, wow, I could listen to this all day. And I was, of course, I was moved and impressed that she was into this album greatly, as was I. I kept listening over and over and over again, and it really did. It's a moving kind of music and representation of perhaps a softer side of jazz.
Yeah.
And so easy, flowing. Yeah, I love the whole album. Even the the In the Face of the Day and what's the one? Dodge the Dodo. What a name.
Yeah.
Dodge the Dodo. But listening to it is so cool. The whole album.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
this is a good album.
Yep. So on my notes, I said the album to us are hitting us hard, and we're going to rate them here in just a minute. But for me, this was an eye-opening week, much like 2 weeks ago with Maria Schneider. You know, you listen to straight jazz or hard bop or bebop, and that's the only kind of jazz you think there is. But then you hear Maria Schneider, you hear Esbjörn Svensson, you hear Herbie Hancock on the New Standard, and you think, wow, jazz doesn't have to be this. It can be something completely else. In my notes, I said I can't describe the postmodern movement. It's undefinable. You just got to live it. You just got to listen to it and enjoy the postmodern jazz movement with E.S.T. Final note, take the red pill and follow us, and just you know what? Just put on 7 Days of Falling. Put on Gagarin's point of view, but listen to 7 Days of Falling as well, because if you like Gagarin's point of view, you're going to love 7 Days of Falling. That's my final thought. I'm ready to rate. What about you?
I am. I think we should start with Dad because I know where both of us landed.
Okay.
Dad, if you were to rate this album 1 to 10, where would it fall?
Well, let me put it to you this way. The best way I could rate it is, because I didn't get an opportunity to rate the one last week.
Oh, last week. Yeah. Last week was Lenny Tristano.
Yeah, Lenny Tristano. Yeah.
I mean, the week before that, because I was excluded. Honestly, this moved me so much. I'm going to give it a 10. 10 straight up.
Okay.
10. That's where I am.
Drew, we might as well say it in unison then. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 10.
10,
So,
baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I would recommend this album to friends. Obviously, we've recommended it to family, and you recommended it to Mom. She loved it. I would recommend this and other E.S.T albums to people who don't think they like jazz.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a few people in the family who said, I'll never listen to jazz. And if you put on this album and you say, hey, just spend 20 minutes, listen to it. If you don't like it, turn it off, but at least spend 20 minutes.
Yep. There are some albums that are tough. There are some albums that are just really easy to listen to. And this week, along with 2 weeks ago, these are albums that you would have never thought to pop up. I would have never thought to be really enjoying Esbjörn Svensson Trio, let alone his own solo music or anybody else. And that's the reminder. What we don't know, we don't know. How many times would I have never, ever thought to listen to Thomas Stenko? Well, you talk about Swedish jazz. There we go. And so now you're starting to think about where else is out there. Takura Kuroda, Japanese artist, trumpet player, Ibrahim Malouf. Now we're starting to cover continents to look for new jazz music. So it's super exciting. Now, for both of you yahoos in the upper right-hand screen, when you listen to the episodes when they come out, make sure you smash those like buttons after you've gone through and checked the album out or checked the episode out.
I'm guilty. I'm
And if you
guilty.
think about it, you could go back and smash like on some of the older episodes, but watch them.
For sure. For sure. So Gagarin's point of view made the list in 2006, and it was number 68. This week, this year in 2022, it moved up to number 61. So it moved 7 spaces in the top 100 albums that shook the world. And it definitely shook my world. Did it shake your world?
Oh, it
Big
shook
time.
me.
Yeah.
Big time. I
Big
will
time.
listen to this many more times, much more often.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gregory Porter, which is okay.
Of course. Of course.
and you know what? If you spent $12 on Maria Schneider's album, I promise you'd listen to that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
Speaking of, because I missed last week, I had been at a conference and interacted with some people that I've known over the years. And I forget who it was specifically. I asked if oh no, it was Friday night at the club room, our waitress. And I said, hey, are you into jazz? She said, I'm a singer. I sing soulfully. I said, do you know Gregory? Oh man, he's got soul. you got that right, baby. You got that right.
Yeah.
So I mentioned to her about the unconnoisseur.
Good.
So, yeah.
Good.
Represent, baby. Represent.
That's right. That's right. You're always doing it. You're always doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce next week's artist. And of course, we're using the Jazzwise magazine top 100 albums that shook the world. The list is from 2022, the magazine. And we are moving down to number 60 on the list. The artist is Gil Evans, and the name of the album is Out of the Cool. It was on the Impulse label, released on LP and CD. It was recorded on the 18th and 30th of November, the 10th and the 15th of December in 1960. So Gil Evans, Out of the Cool. Now, if you remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about Gil Evans with Maria Schneider. Maria worked with Gil. What? Oh, yeah. One of us doesn't remember, but you watched the episode anyway, so you know that Gil and Maria worked together. So it's going to be an interesting week to see, Dad, how you like Gil Evans, and the name of the album is Out of the Cool. So,
and that's going to be fun. What little I know about Gil Evans, Miles Davis. What little I know of Gil Evans because of Maria Schneider. It's one of those funny things. I think, how many times can we say her name on this episode? Maria Schneider, Maria Schneider. Go check out Concert in the Garden by Maria Schneider.
Well, I got my picture signed if you want to see my picture.
Sandwiched in between Esbjörn Svensson Trio. There it is.
You guys are bad. You guys are bad.
I'm just saying. I got her signature.
You kids. All right.
Okay. Hey, tell them where they can find us.
You can find us at all your favorite channels. We're on the website, theunconnoisseur.com. Drop us an email, comments, or whatever you want to send over to us at theunconnoisseur@gmail.com. Matt's over there killing it on TikTok at The Unconnoisseur. And of course, you're already here on YouTube at The Unconnoisseur. Make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate all of the feedback, so drop some comments. And don't forget that for you guys out and gals out on the podcast, thank you for tuning in on those 3 channels. I think I was going to write them down today. It's Amazon, iTunes, and one other. Spotify. So thanks for listening to us on those channels as well. And if you're over there, come over to YouTube and look at my beautiful face. It's big and beautiful. So until next time, everybody, the Unconnoisseurs, thank you.
Thanks.